Hi, my name is Mike Anderson from Collision Advice. I recently had the honor and the pleasure of sitting down with some of my friends at CCC. And while sitting down with them, they asked me if I had any advice or any suggestions that maybe I could provide to shops that would help them to improve their parts procurement best practices. Of course, I always have a little bit of advice to give someone, or at least a lot of opinions. So we sat down and we developed a video series that we hope that will help you to improve your shop's parts processes. You know, I gotta tell you, most people either love me or hate me. They never like me. And I'll give you one of those reasons why. I'm going to make a statement that many of you may or may not agree with, and that is that we as collision repair shops oftentimes use the insurance company as an excuse for our ignorance. You say, Mike, what do you mean by that? What I mean to say is that a lot of times we see insurance companies won't pay us for things that we don't even know to charge for. Let me give you an example. Did you know that there's certain vehicle manufacturers out there, one specific one, that actually states that if an airbag deploys, you must replace the sun visors? You must. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that. Let me give you another example. I was recently putting a quarter panel on a vehicle. While putting that quarter panel on, obviously you know we cannot weld within 12 inches of an electrical component. So I had to remove the airbag and the airbag sensor. Well, in order to remove the airbag and the airbag sensor, I had to remove the headliner. And when I removed the headliner, I had to remove the center pillar trim. Well, when researching some of the OEM data, I found out that that specific vehicle manufacturer said that center pillar trim cannot be reused. Matter of fact, they use a strong word, and that word is the word must. It said the center pillar trim, if removed, must be replaced. You know, the scary thought is, had I not researched that, I would never have known it because the part would have snapped right back into place, and I would have thought everything was okay. So it's really important that we have to understand a couple things. One of the things that we really need to understand is that the OEMs have done a lot of research into helping us to understand what it takes to put a vehicle back to pre-accident condition. Now, many of you might be thinking, Mike, I don't have the time to actually take and research every single trim panel at R&I. I don't have the time to research every single vehicle I do as to whether or not the nuts or bolts or clips can be reused. Well, let me just tell you something. You're right, you don't have the time, but you also can't afford not to have the time. So one of the things I like to suggest to people to do is, there's a lot of things out there today as resources that will help us to research what the OEM says we need to do to put that vehicle back to proper pre-accident condition. Now, obviously the OEMs such as Audi, BMW, GM, Chrysler, Toyota, they all have websites so we can access those. Many of these are pay-to-use websites. You can pay by the day, pay by the month, pay by the year. You might want to even visit this website, www.oemOneStop.com. Again, that's www.oemonestop.com. That's like a portal into all the OEM websites, but again, keep it in mind, you have to pay for those individually. Now, another thing you might want to do is you might say, well, you know what, I'm going to contact my dealership whenever I need some of these OEM requirements and I'll have them send them to me. You know what, that's probably not a bad idea, but again, very time consuming. Now, there are some third-party vendors out there that do make some software that integrates with the estimating systems. I don't even like to use the word integrates. I like to use the word kind of it interfaces with the estimating systems that allows you to actually research some of this OEM data. And then there's obviously a fourth option for those of you that are CCC1 users, where they actually have all within one platform that when you write in an estimate, they automatically have all the OEM repair methods for you. So again, yes, while it could be time consuming if you're doing it manually, what we need to do is utilize technology to help us to write one estimate to get all the parts right the first time. You know, another example that comes to mind, there's one specific vehicle manufacturer that says every time their taillights are R&I'd, you must replace the tail lamp gasket. Again, how many of you are doing this? Another manufacturer actually states that they have aluminum frame rails in their vehicles, that if that frame rail is off even 1 millimeter, it must be replaced. If you don't research that, how would you know this? So again, we need to make sure that not only are we using the OEM information to help us to determine all the parts we need on the front end of the repair process during the repair plan or blueprint, but also we need to do it, just to be honest with you, to make sure we fix the vehicle properly. Now, there may be many of you that say, Mike, again, even with software, I don't have time to research every single vehicle. Well, did you know that some of your vehicle manufacturers actually state that if they have parking sensors and you just loosen the bumper, not even R&I it, you just loosen it, you must go back and recalibrate the parking sensors. So even on a minor repair, this may be necessary. But again, I'm real world. I understand that you may not have time to research everything the OEM says on every single vehicle. So here's what I recommend. I recommend at a very minimum, and again, this is a minimum, that at a minimum, you develop what I call a set of safety triggers. Now that term is borrowed from a guy by the name of Will Laddiff from Laddiff Brothers in Minnesota. And here's what he says. He says, Mike, anytime I'm doing a repair or writing an estimate or a damage analysis on a vehicle that requires any welding, any structural repair or replace, any R&I of any interior trim components, anything involving the SRS, safety restraint systems, anything where I got to R&I any suspension, overhaul it, replace it, or any alignments, or last but not least, anything involving one of the electronic accident or crash avoidance systems. If I have anything that meets one of those 60 triggers, at a minimum, I will research the OEM information. So again, what options are available to you? Again, you can research it manually yourself through one of the OEM websites. Number two, you can use a third-party vendor to actually help you to kind of interface with your estimating system to get this information. Number three, you might call your dealership, ask them to fax something over, but gosh, that would be so time-consuming. Or again, number four is, for those of you using CCC1, they actually have the repair methods that are integrated right within their estimating system. In closing, I know what many of you are thinking. You're thinking, Mike, gosh, I just don't have time to research all these things on every single estimate. You know what? I understand that and probably almost agree with you. But I have to tell you, it's not about not having the time. It's that we can't afford not to have the time. You got to remember, when this consumer comes to us, they're trusting you. I would like to extend my gratitude and appreciation to CCC for allowing me to share my passion and enthusiasm with you. We're hoping you picked up some things that might help to improve your business, but also improve your quality of life. If you'd like more information about any ways that we can assist you, please feel free to contact me or my team at www.collisionadvice.com or contact CCC at their website. Thanks and have a great day.